Cold War. I was involved in a top-secret joint US-China operation. Our team goes deep into the sea, in search of the legendary Dragon Palace. Now's the time to tell you. My name doesn't matter anymore. When you read this top-secret document, I'm probably dead. Maybe was driven mad by the memory of the deep sea. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that I have to speak up about this. This is no ordinary veteran memoir. It's a testament. Also a warning. I've spent my life working with the ocean. He used to be a researcher at the State Oceanic Administration. I have seen many strange marine phenomena, but the most unforgettable thing for me, it was the winter of 1986. It was unusually cold that winter. Bohai Bay forms its last waterfront in 30 years. I was at the National Deep Sea Base in responsible for a new advanced project. Late one night, a red flag sedan with a special license plate quietly stopped at the gate of the base. A few in Mao suits. The expressionless man found me, said there was an urgent mission. Let me go with them immediately. I was taken to a top-secret military installation in a smoky conference room. I met a few people, only in newspapers and news. Big shots I've seen. But here's what was even more surprising to me. There are also a few blondes in the room, blue-eyed foreign friends. They look serious. One of them, I later learned, was the Love Bureau. Senior analyst man, with a mixture of fear and impossible. A thoughtful tone, describes a code named the past of the top-secret operation bestowed by the Poseidon. Go back in time to the late 60s. The Cold War loomed over the world. Strategic deterrence of our country. An intelligence gathering. United States Navy, a state-of-the-art nuclear submarine was dispatched at the junction of the Western Pacific and the East China Sea. Perform a long-term stealth mission. This submarine is like a steel giant in the deep sea. Beasts search silently under this sea. However, on a winter night, ravaged by a storm in 1969, the submarine is missing. It was as if he had vanished. A deep-sea area on the edge of the continental shelf in the East China Sea. Completely disappeared. The Americans used everything at their disposal. Forced to search? Nothing came out of it. This was at the time. It's big enough news to cause global tremors. So it was tightly suppressed by the military. Declare a submarine during a training accident. Silence in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. All officers and soldiers died honorably on the job. But the truth is not so. The analyst at the Love Bureau played a recording. That was the last message from the submarine before it disappeared. The information has undergone multiple noise reduction processes. Still full of a sour murmur. This is BB. God, we see the impossible. Huge buildings under the sea. Not a sunken ship. Yes, yes, city. I repeat, we have discovered an underwater city. The signalman's voice was utterly shocked and terrified. Sharp and twisted with fear. God, the sonar says he's too big. The style is like an ancient Chinese palace. They're too big. Oh, my God. Then came a cacophony, like a smirk of metal, twisted by a distance. And then there's eternal death. The Americans thought they were officers and men on a submarine. There was a collective medicine, or was disturbed by some unknown sonic weapon. But over the next dozen years, they used spy satellites and secret exploration, confirmation, again and again. At the bottom of that sea, there is indeed a huge, unexplained anomalous geological structure. Its outline, with state-of-the-art detection equipment, present a lack of incredible unnatural symmetries, with the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and the United States entering a honeymoon period. This top secret has been sealed for more than 10 years. Finally brought to the negotiating table, Americans want to know their submarine. What happened to the more than 100 crew members? I want to know what's hidden under the sea. At the same time, this thing looks like it seems to be related to China again. History is very strongly correlated. We need support from China. Certainly. This is what happened in Chinese territorial waters after all. They are also, because of their former rivalries, feeling guilty for espionage as a foundation for cooperation and trust. Americans are willing to transfer some. At that time, their advanced technology was given to us. At the same time, we don't want our own door. What secrets are known to the Americans? Besides, we don't even know what's under the sea. What's up? We'll have to go down with the Americans and see for ourselves, and make sure they don't do anything. Therefore, an unprecedented joint expedition, Operation Dragon Palace, begins, because I am in deep memory and expertise in the field of underwater sonar prime ministers, selected to the Chinese expert group. The leader of the team is a major general of our army who has achieved great success. The surname Zheng is taciturn, eyes like eagles. Technology is always responsible for me. In addition, there is also an old professor of history at Peking University, surname Lin. It is said to know all kinds of ancient books and myths. American team leader. It's a CIA operations leader named Baxter. A classic Cold War elite, pragmatic and tough. They brought the most advanced technology in the world at that time. Deep sea exploration and operation platform, the goal is to go down there, find the submarine, and explore that so-called underwater palace. Early spring, 1987. Our ship in the East China Sea, disguised as a marine expedition. Rendezvous on the mothership of the ship. Atmosphere. From the outset, it was filled with suspicion and nervousness. We and the Americans. Last second was a sworn enemy. This second is in a narrow iron can. Put your life in the hands of the other party, facing a completely unknown enemy. The Seawolf is a behemoth, not so much a submarine. It's more like a mobile deep-sea base. He was carrying 2 small previvers, Alpha Coefficient and Beta, as planned. We're going to split into 2 vectors. Go to the target area together. The dive is long and depressing. Outside the window is pure darkness. Only the beam of searchlight in the endless depths of the sea. Draw out 2 pale and feeble light marks. The numbers on the deep record keep beating. 100 meters, 200 meters. The 300-meter hull crunched under terrifying water pressure. Creaking sound. Like a walnut in the hands of a giant. I don't know how long it has been. Sonar. A huge callback suddenly appeared on the screen. Oh God. The American sonar garden sucked in a breath. He is too big. Bigger than a mountain. We all squashed in front of the screen. That's not a mountain. It's a chiseled, man-made structure. Pheon bucket arch. Continuous palace walls. Although it's just a blurry green shadow on the sonar image. But the kind of male that belongs to Chinese classical architecture. Majesty and majesty coming. He is quiet. Sitting quietly at the bottom of a deep-sea trench, as if it had been asleep for thousands of years. Turn on the main searchlight array. The voice of Major General Zhang broke the seasons. Dozens of high-brightness beams of light pierced the darkness when the true face of that city, When it first appears before our eyes, time seems to freeze. In the cockpit, whether Chinese or American, all that's left is the sound of heavy breathing. It is a complex of buildings that cannot be described in words. It is grander than any palace recorded in history books. Huge emissions are covered with unknown mountains, coral and seaweed. There seems to be some ancient writing engraved on it, but it is blurred under the erosion of the seawater. Black boulders make up the city, the walls, and the main body of the palace. Material flying gold, flying stone, a strange reflection in the light, wet shine. The whole city, shrouded in a palpitating trail of death. There are no fish here, no shrimp, no sign of life. Only those palaces are like huge tombs, standing in silence in the darkness. Is this the Dragon Palace? Professor Lin holds his eyes, voice trembling. The Book of Mountains and Seas records the Kingdom of Turtles, body of the gods. I always thought it was a myth. There are no nuclear submarines in mythology. Baxter interrupted him coldly. He points to the center of the sonar screen and looks there, in the middle of the city. One of the tallest, the top of the building like an altar. We saw the US nuclear submarine. His posture is strange, like being plugged into that building. His archer pierced deep into the black. A platform made of boulders. The stern is tilted high, like a long hair piercing the sky. The entire hull is covered with a translucent. It is wrapped in a substance like bacterial charcoal and a meat film. The material is still pulsing slightly and rhythmically. It's like having life. Oh, my God, an American engineer muttered to himself. He looks alive, and we carefully steered the deep air. The closer you are, the stronger the strange feeling. On the hull of the submarine, the original smooth special steel has become uneven. It is covered with raised lines that resemble blood vessels. Some places even grow sharp, like a bone spur structure. The opening of the torpedo tube, a sticky dripping liquid that emits a faint light. It is no longer a Cold War machine. He became a living being, one made of steel and fuel, and unknown flesh and blood. Monster. Joint Command has ordered us to find out the truth. Final decision. 3 personnel from each side of China and the United States form a landing team. Enter the Dragon Palace wearing a special deep-sea work suit and try to board the submarine. Search for logbooks and other remnants. I need to operate a portable sonar device. Also selected for the squad. Also accompanying him was Major General John, Professor Lin, as well as Baxter and 2 Americans. Navy SEAL. Let's get out of the shallow barometric chamber. When I step on the streets of that city, an unprecedented meaning from the soles of the feet, straight to the sky. The pressure here is enough to turn the human body instantly pressed into meat patties, but our work clothes can resist. However, that psychological pressure, it is inseparable by any technology. We are like ants entering the mausoleum of giants. In the darkness around, it seems that countless pairs of eyes are watching us. The ground was covered with a thick layer of silt. Step on it soft. That's no ordinary sediment, but a delicate, organic matter with a faint, fishy smell. Professor Lin took a sample with a robotic arm. It was found to be teeming with unknown microbes. This city, it's digesting everything. Professor Lin's voice is in the communicator, a murmur of electricity. It's an ecosystem we cannot understand. We make our way to the altar in the center. The gates of the palaces along the way were closed. It's carved with intricate and bizarre murals. The content of the mural, it gives us all the creeps. It's a picture of sacrifice after sacrifice. Countless creatures that resemble early humans was thrown into a swirling abyss. And above the abyss, it's an unimaginable size, blurred outline. He has no fixed form. It seems to be composed of countless shadows and eyes. The human on the mural is making a crazy film of him, and at the same time being consumed by him in extreme fear. This is not a palace. This is the altar, or a feeding basin. And Baxter's voice was dry. We finally arrived at the foot of a giant building with submarines. Look up. The ship that once symbolized human industry. Submarines at the pinnacle of civilization. At this moment, it is like insects pinned to specimen plates, full of strange nitrogen and sadness. The flesh magic that wraps him, it's shrinking slightly as our headlamps hit it, as if threatened, ready to board. Major General Jung gave the order. We used the grappling hook and the thruster of the worksuit, climbed the tilted hull of the submarine with difficulty. When we touched that membrane, the warm touch comes through the heavy gloves. He's alive, a Navy SEAL with a high-pressure cutting gun, and you boil a gap in that membrane, a strong, like rotting seafood in ozone. Mixed odors spewed out. We almost threw up the smoke. Behind the gap is the hatch of the submarine, but it has been corroded and deformed, and those membranes are torn together. We worked hard, forcibly pry it open before using hydraulic pressure. Inside the submarine is hell. We imagined the corpses of the crew. I imagined all kinds of tragedies. But the scene in front of you, beyond our wildest nightmares, there's no longer any distinction between a ship and a person. The entire cabin became a giant, squirming nest. Wall, ceiling, floor, covered with that fluctuating blood-soft tissue. Cables and pipes, like twisted blood vessels and intestines, entangled, twitch from time to time. There is a low atmosphere in the air. It's like a heartbeat. And those crew members, they are still there, their body, in a terrifying way, merged with this submarine. Some people are half stuck in the wall. Skin and steel are indistinguishable from each other, still on his face. Extremely terrified expression. Some people are covered in countless fleshy tubes, like a humanoid battery hanging on the wall. In the command room, the captain's body is still sitting on the chair, but the flesh and blood have been integrated into the entire console. Countless wires grew out of his spine, connected to those screens flashing eerily red. They're all dead, but the money survived. He devoured his crew with their flesh and soul. Transform yourself into a brand new, terrifying life form. Log recording. Baxter's voice is like squeezing through his teeth. When he came out, he resisted the urge to vomit. Direct the team to find the target. Just then, the detector I carry. Suddenly, a sharp alarm went off. Watch out for something coming. It's pretty fast, I shouted before I finished. Deep in the darkness of the cabin, shoots out a few dark shadows. That's like a maintenance arm for a submarine, but it has been completely wrapped in muscular flesh. The tip becomes sharp, claws like bone spurs. A Navy SEAL can't dodge. Instantly, one of the claws pierced through the chest. There was a loud explosion in his worksuit. Red blood and internal organs, instantly squeezed out by huge pressure, explode a cloud of blood. The enemy attacked Major General Jung with the fastest reaction. He raised his rifle, shooting like crazy at those robotic arms. But the bullet hit it with just a spark. Can't do effective damage at all. Ask the whole submarine to suddenly shake violently. The heartbeat-like sound suddenly increased. The sarcoma on the wall started to squirm like crazy. The deck beneath our feet also becomes soft and elastic. This ship, this monster. He woke up and retreated. Retreat, Baxter roars. Drag the other surviving team member and run out. We also immediately retreated to the hatch, but it's too late. The hatch is being covered with new meat membranes. Rapid tissue occlusion. Professor Lin, hurry up. I turned around and shouted, but Professor Lin seems to be nailed to the same place. He's not looking at the robotic arms that are attacking us. Instead, he stared fixedly at a piece in the command room. Suddenly the screen lights up. That's no longer voyage data. It's a cycle, playing a blurry scan. In the center of the image is our Earth, but in place and location. But there is a shadow curled up like a fetus. The shadow is slowly pulsing. I see. Professor Lin muttered to himself like crazy. Guisu is not a kingdom of gods. It's an oval dragon palace, not a palace. It's Professor Shell. What nonsense. Come on, I'm rushing over to be sloppy. It's too late. Professor Lin smiled miserably and pointed at the screen. You can see his heart beating faster. It's a submarine's nuclear reactor. That pure energy. It woke him up like a catalyst. We are all thieves. Just then, a giant robotic arm fell from the sky. He directly smashed Professor Lin into meat puree. My mind went blank. The survival instinct drives me. Follow Major General Zhang and Baxter. Rolled out of the gap in the closing hatch. From behind us came the roar of the submarine. That's not the sound of machinery. It's a mixture of countless people dying, screaming. A creature full of pain and reading. His torpedo tube slammed open. It's a puff group, spinning at high speed, composed of bone spurs and flesh and blood. Torpedo monster, like a meat grinder. We fled through the complex in embarrassment. A Navy SEAL took cover for us, hit by that flesh and blood torpedo. The whole person was instantly stirred to pieces. When we finally escaped back to our immediate vicinity, look back, I saw the mutated submarine. He actually pulled himself out of the altar. Countless thick, rotting saw legs jutting out from his bottom, rooted in architecture, supporting his massive body. He was like a creature that had crawled out of a nightmare, a giant spider monster made of steel and flesh. All the weapon systems on him came alive, pouring energy into us madly. Go in quickly. General Chang pushed me into the alpha coefficient. He turned around with a gun. One final shot at the monster. Cover us into the shallow period. Major General, my eyes heal. This is an order. Bring the data back. Must have his voice. Devoured by the firelight and roar of the explosion. In the end, it was just me and Baxter, driving a scarred alpha coefficient, desperately rushing towards the sea. And behind us, the city known as the Dragon Palace. It starts to emit eerily bright blue lights. The whole trench is shaking, as if there was something huge. From the depths of the earth, wake up. This is the whole picture of the Dragon Palace plan. The information we brought back. It has attracted great attention from the highest levels in China and the United States. No one can explain. The creature in the river. What is more incomprehensible? Why do submarines come from the ground, scanning images of the depths of the river? This was at the time, even with today's technology, things that are also difficult to do. We only know that Professor Lin is right. The so-called Dragon Palace. Perhaps it was built by some prehistoric the seal or an eggshell to inhibit the growth of the fetus in the river. The mutation of submarines could be just the beginning. That's his power. The most trivial leak. When he is fully awake, when the egg on Earth is fully hatched, what will happen? This secret. It was sealed by the two countries with all their strength. We, the survivors, required to take the most severe oath, sign a non-disclosure agreement, never reveal a word for life. But now I'm old, dying too. I can feel it all these years. Worldwide, there are increasingly frequent, extreme geological activity occurs. Everything indicates his breathing. It's getting heavier. Listen carefully if you are in the middle of the night. Heard it from the depths of the earth. If there is no, the heartbeat is not your illusion. It's the end of a lullaby.